they play hard, and they're enjoying themselves, and they're enjoying the fact that they've sort of defied expectations early on. And a lot of them are just kids, which is it's great. So there are some of those teams who are having fun, as opposed to the teams that have expectations placed on them and have to be, at least to some measure, a little more serious about what they're doing because they know what's at stake.
One of those teams with pretty good expectations this year, the Brooklyn Nets. I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. They're off to a bit of a rocky start. What's your take on the Nets and all the moves that they've made?
Well, I questioned from the get-go the chemistry, and this goes back to really last year. I don't know, and I'm certainly not a coach or GM, but I don't know that I think all the parts necessarily fit. I'm not sure Paul Pierce and Joe Johnson should be in the same starting lineup. At the same time, bringing in Kevin Garnett because of his leadership skills, because of his defensive-minded presence, and the demands he places on his teammates, I think that could be a difference maker for them. But it's going to take a little while for them to figure out exactly who they are, what their identity is on the offensive end in particular, and to get the complete buy-in that KG will demand. And then there's the question of Jason Kidd. He's one of the most venerated players of his generation. I mean, there's so much respect for Jason Kidd and what he's done as a player, his international record. But at the same time, moving into that role is kind of a different deal, and he's unproven, and that's a fair question to ask. If you want to hand the keys to this $100 million roster to a guy who never coached a game before.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on him to come through with this. I mean,
absolutely.
The win now mentality your first year as a head coach is crazy.
Yeah, no, it's not like you have a chance to develop the way Brad Stevens is up in Boston. There are very little expectations on him. And the difference, of course, is Stevens is learning the NBA, but at least he's been a head coach before.
True.
Whereas Kidd, it's one thing to be a point guard and to be the smartest player in the room, which he was with most of his teams, but there are adjustments to make as a coach. I don't doubt that he has the respect of his players, but there are things that happen over the course of an NBA game that he may not have considered before, and things that happen during practice and managing a team and managing egos and minutes, etc., that he may not be prepared to do yet. And we're going to find that out.
We are. Last question I just want to hear from you. What's your favorite sports book?
Favorite sports book? This may be surprising. I don't read a ton of sports books.
Okay.
I try to read, just because I'm immersed in sports for so much of my professional life, and just because I'm interested, I try to read other stuff. I'm trying to think, what would my favorite be? That's a great question. I've read some good ones over the years. The Joe DiMaggio biography stands out.
Nice.
It's been years since I've read it. That stands out for sure. I just read David Epstein's book on the sports gene, which was very interesting. Boy, I'm struggling to come up with an answer, though, for my all-time favorite sports book. I read, my dad got me Marv Albert's Yes, and It Counts in 1970, which may have set me on my path. Maybe that could prove to be ultimately the most important one. I don't know if it's my favorite, but maybe that was the most important one.
Very interesting. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. This was great. I really, really thank you for coming on. Everyone, make sure to check out Matt on NBA TV, and definitely check him out on Twitter. He's a great follow. His handle is @MattWeiner. Matt, thank you so much.
Hey, no problem. Appreciate it.